world, and welcome back to Stuff We Do, where we do all the knife stuff you love. Knife reviews, knife tests, knife modifications, and outdoor stuff with knives. I've been messing around and doing all kinds of weird videos, so it's time to get back to something more normal. Okay, today we are looking at the Revo knife, revoknives.com, and then it comes in this wonderful magnetic little box, and in there you get a big R, which we will put somewhere. And the little thing that shows us all their different types of knives, which I will definitely be taking a look, because this is my first Revo ever. And then we get this nice cutout in there where the knife sits, and the one we are looking at today is the Rev0080DG. Okay, this is the Revo Ness. Okay, excuse me, before we get further into this, yeah, there was this phase that me and my brother would go and do, I don't know, minimalist surviving there in the African bush. We would take, sorry, excuse me, a frog in my throat. We would take only minimalist things and huge amounts of beer, and then we would go and survive, catch our own food and live off the land and sleep in trees to get away from the snakes and whatnot. Okay. Anyway, so at that stage, I was reading a lot of, I think it's George Sears, if I can remember correctly, Nessmuk. Okay, he wrote a lot of books and things like that. I'll add, he's got a poem in the beginning of one of his books that I found quite interesting, because this was written, I don't know, a few hundred years ago. And already there, this guy is pretty much telling us to get out of the cities and towns and to go outside. It's better for your health. It's not COVID, it's just itchy throat, I think. Okay, so Nessmuk and Nessmuk style knives. Now, at one stage, I considered myself an up-and-coming knife maker, and I made a few knives. This was my take on a Nessmuk knife. Okay, I think this is partridge wood, and this is like African ebony or something. And then I cannot remember what steel this is or where I got it from. It might have been something like a repurposed machete or something. I cannot remember. But anyway, so I made myself a Nessmuk knife, or a Nessmuk style knife. Now this thing works nice and you can baton with it and whatever and stuff like that. But Nessmuk knives were never intended for that. This is a food prep knife and maybe a skinning and a meat processing style of blade. Now, before we get into this knife, a knife that I feel people are overlooking a lot and that I really, really love is this one. This, okay, give me a second. I might just make it. Okay, this is the Civivi Naja. Now, I love this knife. For a meat processing folder, this thing is wonderful. Okay, so the Civivi Naja. But now look at these blade shapes. They are quite similar. Ne? That's fantastic. Anyway, so eventually somebody made a knife again, a folding knife that I truly love. This knife is really great. There's two little things that's bothering the smoke out of me, but otherwise this knife is fantastic, and I really think if you need it for something like food prep or whatever, you can use it as an EDC. There's nothing wrong with that. I have been carrying it for a while, opening beer and charcoal and things like that. Nothing really hard use yet, but it's a fantastic knife. Okay, let's get into a few of the specs on this thing. Let's quickly just do a size comparison. Okay, there it is against the Rat 1. Okay, so they're pretty much the same length, but the blade is way thicker. And then D2 steel on the blade. Revo does the same thing that Civivi does that I truly appreciate. Apart from the R over there, there's no real billboarding on this knife. It has a deep carry pocket clip, recessed screws, unfortunately only one side, which is fantastic. Okay, the G10 extremely grippy. Because I thought this was going to be an outdoor knife, I went with the green. You get them in gray, blue, and I think carbon fiber also. A big lanyard point, so if you want to do that, you can. And then the action on this thing is quite nice. It flips out wonderfully. Just get it past that detent, and then just a slight shake and you will get it open. Okay, so the Revo Ness, fantastic knife. Let's quickly do a few specs on this guy. Blade length is 9 something centimeters, overall 20.5 centimeters, or 3.5 inch blade, and overall 8 inches flat. Okay, it is quite a wide blade. It's, what's that, almost 1.5 inches. No, I'm lying to you, it's not. Whatever that is, I don't know, 1.25 and a bit. And then in centimeters, it is 3.5 centimeters wide. The stock doesn't seem to be extremely thick. Let's quickly check. That is 2.5 millimeters. What's 2.5 millimeters in inches? Give me a second. Okay. Just get this thing on there again. Okay, 2.5. Now it looks like 2.73, or it's just my calipers. Anyway, 0.12 inches. And then weight on this guy is 136 grams, which on our conversion chart, 136, it's just below 5 ounces. So it is not a lightweight knife, but as I have said previously, if something is cool enough, you won't mind carrying it. And I actually really enjoy this knife. Okay, like I said, I didn't cut a lot, but this thing is extremely sharp. Okay. So this is a wonderful knife. I love the full flat grind. I love the big blade. It is fantastic for food prep, and I have been using it only for food prep, nothing else at this stage. The handle looks weird. When I saw this handle, I was not too impressed, but it's actually very, very comfortable. In my fat hands, it's a full 4-finger grip, no problem. People with bigger hands can still most likely use it quite nicely, and I think if you have small hands, it will still be good. This thin little neck over here had me worried for a second, but it's not a problem. It does not have jimping, but this finger is so locked in here, it doesn't feel like I need it. And like I said, this is not going to be something that you're going to be cutting wood with. You can if you want to, but yeah, that's not what I would be using it for. But for food prep and that stuff, it's wonderful. The pocket clip is great. No love for our left-handed brethren. And then, if you want to slow roll it out, that is one of the nicest knives to slow roll out ever. Which brings me to the thing I don't like. The flipper tab. Wonderful, beautiful, but it really needs some jumping on here. If you are working with food, especially meat, things that are fatty, you're going to slip off this thing the whole time. And that's why I started slow rolling it out, which is not a problem, which means you can get around it. But it would have been nice if there were just a little bit of jumping on this tab. Now, I might just take the Dremel and put a few jumps in there myself. So it's not something that's a problem. You can fix it. Then here at the back. It's open. It does not create any hot spots. Okay. Pocket clips, fantastic. As I said, I love this pocket clip. It does not create any hot spots, but it just feels weird. Why couldn't they have just covered this with G10 also? I would really have loved that. Or just left the hole and rounded it over. Because you're not going to chop with this thing. The blade's way too light for that. Okay, and then you saw me slipping off there. But apart from the jumps and this, and like I said, this is not a problem, and the jumping is not a problem, because I have been taking to doing this the whole time. I really love this knife. So if you don't have one of those, and you don't have one of these, make a plan. I really, really like this knife. It has fantastic action. It does have bearings. Well, they say they have bearings in here, and you can definitely see that from the action. And there's nothing about this knife that I do not like, apart from the little things, but you can fix that if you want to. So, I will definitely be getting more Revos in future. Yeah, and anything associated with Nessmuk makes me happy. So, stay safe, happy, and have a good one. Goodbye.